Good to see everybody. Thought it was a really good vibe out there today. Great crowd. Sorry to hold you guys. I wanted to make sure I signed all the kids' pictures at the tunnel walk. Grateful for everyone that took their time to come out here and be a part of a good day. It sends a great message to our players. Sends a great message to the recruits. We have really an amazing group of recruits, but more importantly, just come together, celebrate our state, celebrate the university, celebrate the football team, and all the hard work that we've done. And so I'm proud of the guys. I thought they had a really good spring. I thought it looked like football out there. I think we had 92 guys that were dressed and could play. So certainly not the numbers we've had historically, but with the new rules and all that, it's a little bit less. But we were able to get a lot of guys a lot of reps. So good for us to coach off of and teach off of. And the great thing about this year now is we have 5-6 weeks now here of training and work that we can go back. Anybody who's banged up can get healthy. And but more importantly, we've seen these guys now. We know what they do well. We know what they need to improve on, whether it's in the weight room, their body weight, position wise, anything. So happy with the spring, and just have to say, I want to make sure I talk about the football team, but just want to congratulate Fred on an amazing run. Just grateful, beyond grateful for just the experience as a fan, as the father of kids that are growing up here. He and his team, I thought it was amazing, and it was being able to go to all 3 tournament games. Just really, on the way home, the airport we were flying out of had run out of gas. They really ran out of jet fuel, airplane fuel, because they didn't understand what it meant for Nebraska to travel. So he's done amazing things, and anxious to go see a little baseball and softball today. So with that, I'll answer your guys' questions.
Coach, you guys played with a lot of tempo on offense. Was that something you worked on more this spring, and you liked that?
So I'm always in favor of tempo. Being a guy who's on defense, I think it's a tremendous neutralizer. I just think a lot of times when they had a good first down play, I think Dana just wanted to capitalize on it and get another play ran. I think he's been mixing it in, and so it's not something I think we're going to go wholeheartely to, but I think it's something that we've done here and there, and I think it'll always kind of depend upon the opponent and the game. But it's something that we've been doing this spring, and I think it fits the players that we have.
How indicative of today, or of this spring, was today for Anthony as far as his ability to escape the pocket and hit some tight windows with throws?
Yeah, he's done that all spring, as has TJ, as has Danny, really, and Bodie. I think when you see one guy doing it, it kind of becomes contagious. It's so hard on a defense, especially quarters-based defenses where you're kind of always playing 3-over-2 and you're doubling receivers. It's a great way to neutralize that. Some of those were off of a couple times it was off of zone reads. Where we have a zone read and there's a throw option usually with those, but a lot of them were just in drop back. I know in the 2 minutes before the half, he was yelling at me because he felt like he wouldn't have been tackled when I blew the whistle. But yeah, he's got a unique gift and he gets outside there, and I think our receivers recognize that. They're fighting to get open. They're fighting to, even the one, it was a naked, but he got out there, he kind of bought time. He threw the ball down the field and at least gave us a shot in the end zone. So it's something that we now are adding to our offense, which I think really the good teams in college football always have.
374 yards rushing, 5.8 yards a carry. What's that say about your run game? But also, what does it say about the work your defense has got to do and stuff?
Yeah, I'm not. I think some of those were there was 2 big long hits at the end, which they still have to stop them, but. I've been really pleased with the first 2 defenses. They did I was on the BTN call, I think maybe in the 3rd quarter, and I was saying, for spring game can sometimes be vanilla. I thought the defense was doing a good job of limiting him to 3-4 yards here and there, and then obviously I said there were no big hits, and as I said that, Jamal took one about 80, so I might have jinxed Rob and the fellas, but I think the defense has done a really nice job. I didn't see a lot of missed tackles out there. I didn't see busts. What I did see at the end, like I said, a couple big runs with the 2s and the 3s. But we have the ability, we have a really good offensive line. We have good tight ends. We have receivers who will block, and we have backs. I've got a lot of questions about backs, whether it's in here, but mainly, when I go to the store, if you catch me at a bar or a restaurant, and people ask me about the running backs, and I think, we kind of on record, we feel like we have good backs. And I think we saw all of them do something positive today. I think Jeep and Lonnie have brought some new things in, so we're doing some different things, things that Jeep did at Georgia Tech that maybe diversify our run game, which makes it harder to stop.
How would you summarize Jamal Rhule's spring and sort of where he's at? Obviously, he had a good day with the long run you mentioned.
Yeah, Jamal had a really good spring, and what he looked like today, he looked like all spring long. He's very conscientious. He's big. He's tough. He's fast. Got home run ability. I think the biggest thing though is, like I said, he's tough. Like he doesn't mind contact. Um, he put himself through the spring in position to compete to play in the fall. I think which is all you can do as a freshman, right? So he's got 6 weeks here to train to continue to build his body up. Emmett was an absolute anomaly what he did last year, just in terms of playing so much. We probably would never think to do that. But he just had a unique gift. Never really his contact balance and his lateral change of direction. He never really took a big hit. But I thought you saw today more of like how we probably would play. Hey, 4 or 5 plays with this guy, get this guy in. Hey, third down, get this guy in. And I thought you saw them all. All make plays. But Jamal's certainly preparing to play this year as a freshman.
Whittington had a couple of plays on defense where he kind of, beat some pretty good transfer linemen to the spot. Like, what did you see from him in spring? What did you see from him today?
Same thing. He's a really, really explosive kid who plays really hard. I think I think on defense you have to have tone setters, guys who play hard, who play tough, and other people around them. It's contagious, and they can then demand it from other people. And he has that ability. He's super twitched up. He's really well coached. So he's been a great addition. And what I saw out there today, on a day where you're not going to call a ton of sacks probably because it's kind of nebulous. Like even in 2 minutes at the end of the half, he clearly won. Clearly would have had him. And so he yells sack to me a lot. He's a Philly guy, so he knows I like players who talk a little trash to me during practice, and I couldn't even argue with him on that one. So he's really been a nice addition to our team.
Leadership-wise, is it pretty clear who will be the big voices as you guys move into the next phase of offseason?
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know that's established. I think that's a good thing. I think we have a lot of guys who can do that. I think when I look at the guys out there, I think Anthony naturally has that ability. I think Ja'Cory naturally has that ability. Luke is a guy that people follow. Justin Evans is a guy that people follow. On defense, like I said, there's guys like Jasir who are just going to lead with their effort, and guys like Rhule who people respect, Cam Lenhart. So I think we have a great balance right now of guys who've been here, been in the program, understand what it means to play at Nebraska. How we want to honor our fans and the legacy here in the stadium when we play in there, and at the same time, guys who've come in who bring some juice, who bring some leadership qualities. But I think right now we're less looking for leadership and more looking for good football, to be quite honest. We're looking for production. We're looking for grit. We're looking for gritty guys who show up every day and want to be part of a brotherhood. And but most importantly, they want to go out and execute and play hard. And so we're certainly not anywhere where we need to be, but we've had a good spring.
How do you come out of this spring health-wise?
Yeah, we lost Jacob Bauer early on to a non-contact knee. Isaiah pulled his hamstring, but nothing real serious. Dexter Foster didn't do much. I don't think he did anything today because he's got just a bruise. But in terms of long-term surgical type injuries, really, it's Jacob Bauer we're coming out of with.
What did you see from Derek Wacker today? I know you talked a lot about him during bowl prep as well. How did he perform in spring, and what did you see today?
Yeah, Derek's a really good football player. He helped us a ton on special teams as a freshman. He's fast, he's tough, he's athletic. I saw him out there. I'm standing behind, so I can't see the big picture all the time, but I saw him make plays and make some key plays. And I thought the biggest thing to me is he made key tackles on a back one-on-one who's a legitimate college football power 4 back. And so that's what you go out there to do. Like, you go out there to prove that you can play, in that environment versus good players. So happy for him. He's done it all spring, and he'll continue to fight to be a contributing member of the team.
That offensive line group, the 5 you put out there at the start with Anthony, what did you learn about what you have there?
We have a bunch of really good players. You add in, Canuck and Sledge, who are guys we feel really good about. You bring back Gunnar Gatula, and you have some other injured guys that, young guys like Gibson Pyle and Fennessy and Juju Marks, who, they'll be back at some point. I think we have a lot of good depth, a lot of good guys that are young that are we think will be starters here and legitimate starters. But I think when you talk about your first 5 and certainly your first 8, I think we feel good about where we are.
Coach, you all have a good 4 or 5 weeks now as a player after spring ball. What is the plan? What do you do with your guys on this back end of the spring?
Yeah, we go back to training. Yeah, I mean, where this is not like sometimes when the spring game was later, we kind of after that would kind of recover. Like, we are in the sprint, And it's different for each person maybe right now. Some guys, hey, you get a little bit stronger. Hey, you got to get a little healthier. Hey, you got to lose some weight, gain some weight. So it'll be very prescriptive to each person. I think that's the best part of what we did. We didn't do anything without studying it really, really hard, really hard. And, Mitch Cholowinski, who was our sports science guy, he left to go back home to Pitt, take over the whole athletic department's sports science. But and you guys have never heard me talk very much about someone who's left. I usually kind of move on, love him. But Mitch was instrumental, really, in everything we've done. But in this, the decisions we made. And so Corey has a great plan. Kristen has a great plan. And the guys, they've got to go. We'll be back in there Monday morning, starting, I think 7:30 team meeting and back to work. So, I mean, the first week to work might be a little different, but we've got to train. We've got to get stronger. We've got to get healthier. And each guy knows what they have to work on.
Is Anthony Jones?
Anthony and Anu welcomed a baby yesterday morning. So when she went into contractions 2 days ago, he came running down the hall and he started trying to explain it to me. He's like, "All right, she's in." I said, "Why are you talking to me?" Like, run, text me from the hotel, and then they went home, and then she had the baby yesterday morning, 8:50 a.m. So he's been really, really a great addition to us. And you never look at his story, his journey. Man, 5 schools in 5 years. That's, and maybe at first, to be honest, that was maybe a red flag. Then you start to see the whys. Hey, coach left. He has been fantastic in terms of his maturity. And so I just told him to please stay home and be a dad today. We didn't need him out there.
Coach, with Ja'Cory and Calandria, it seems like they already have a connection. Just indicative of what you've seen all spring.
I think Anthony does a great job getting the ball to everybody. I mean, it's 3rd and 5 today. He hits Luke on the crossing route. He finds the backs. He went deep a couple times to Quasi. It was good for Anthony to see what the stadium wind is like. I mean, that wasn't the windiest day I've been in, but it was pretty windy. And so, Quinn Clark has had a really good spring. Cortez has had a really good spring. So I think we like both our starting receivers and the guys that'll rotate in, and some other guys will just continue to develop. But if you think about Anthony, especially with the way he plays, right? He's playing 100 miles an hour. So like he's gonna go through his progression. If there's any pressure, he's gonna get outside the pocket, and he's gonna try to make plays, and he trusts the guys to make the plays.
Have a boy or girl?
Hold on. Hold on. He texted me a picture, so let me see. Yep, he said 8:30 a.m. a new pass rusher was born. So yeah, what's that?
We have flag football. It could be
That's exactly right. We have flag football. You would. I mean, I'm getting emails and texts and calls from. I'm talking about guys. Tony Rassiopi, who trains all the guys for the combine now. I mean, they're sending me flag football stars from all across the country, and I'm getting them to Coach Sowers immediately. So that's gonna be a lot of fun, I think. But so happy for Anthony and Elijah Judy and his wife. Maya, they just had a new baby girl, Nola. So we got some football families getting a little bigger. Anybody else?
Coach, were you surprised with the turnout from the fans today? I believe it was like only 28,000 in attendance.
Yeah, we wanted to play the game. We did this game at 11 a couple years ago. I got a lot of feedback from people like, "Hey, put it back later in the day. We can't drive in." With softball and baseball going at 3, there's a great event on campus with all the new freshmen coming in at 1. 11 was the window that we had. So I thought maybe that might limit the weather. Obviously, with all the devastation and beyond just the devastation of the fires in western Nebraska, also the amount of people who've gone out there to help. I thought it might limit some things. People still in Houston, getting back. But I'm never surprised by Husker crowd. I think I saw Amy the other day. I tried to go to the stop. Saw a couple of you guys. I tried to stop in with Julie and I tried to stop into the Husker watch party, and we couldn't even get into the outdoor area. It was so packed. But it's awesome. I think our fans show people in basketball how we travel, and to have this many people here today, have those kids just sit there at the tunnel walk, just waiting to just get Corey's glove or high five somebody. So our fans, they never cease to amaze me with their passion. All right, thanks guys.
Thank you.